People deluded, I'm back again. Happy Friday, folks. Don't worry, Dan's in the process of tuning in a second. He'll be here, people. I thought, why keep you lot waiting? You know, things happen. I thought I'd warm up the crowd before the big man gets here. Make sure you're following Dan Potts' channel. If you're too lazy to type in football's 12th man or the 12th man podcast, because these typically come up, just check the title, people. What are you lot saying? I hope you're all doing well and safe on this Friday. I hope everyone's in good spirits. Hope you all had a great week. Hope you and your loved ones are all in great health. Why is DG late? Don't you want your channel to grow? I mean, growth is everything you need in life. Don't you worry about that, my friend. We're there. And Dan is in the building. What you saying, brother?
I'm good, bro. Sorry for a couple of minutes late, man. It's been a rush
Minor,
today.
man. Minor, man. It happens. It happens. It is what it is. What you saying?
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's been too long, bro. I've had a couple of busy weeks. I've been away on holidays, and well, I say holiday. It wasn't really a sunbathing holiday, but it was a nice little break. And I've been busy, man. I've been trying to keep away from Arsenal, but it seems really difficult. One, because it's now my job, but two, when you look at things, you want to try and relax. But there's so much transfer stuff every day that people are losing their minds about and excited about and have different opinions about. So let's break it down, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. I've been good. Like you said, it's been a few weeks where we haven't been able to do this. I share your sentiment in that. Like yesterday, for example, I thought I was gonna have an easy day, not after anything. I see we're linked with this Valencia lad, and obviously everyone, like all of us content creators, we got to do the live streams and offer our opinions, etc., etc. Let's start there then, man. Like obviously, you know, I think most fans can comprehend transfers do take long. There's a lot of intricacies around it, but when you see what other teams are doing and things, you can't help but feel we need to be with that. Do you feel people are panicking? And if you do you think they're valid in those claims?
I think some people are panicking. I think some people have concerns. I would probably say I'm in between that a bit because I appreciate and understand the PTSD of January and the previous summer, DG. Do you know what I'm saying? So when people tell you to calm down, they're the same faces that were telling us to calm down in January. And they're the same faces that were saying that we're going to go mad and do a madness in the last couple of days of the summer, only to find that Raheem Sterling was the deadline day signing, right? So I kind of get why people would have concerns and issues about it. I don't think there's any level of trust within the ownership or the board, but I think that could change with Andrea Berta coming in. Now, I think that's the only thing that's given us a glimmer of hope and some reassurance that we might have a summer that might not replicate the ones that have been a disaster in the previous seasons, right? So when I look at the players we're linked with, at the moment, it looks like we're doing our business in terms of trying to get some squad players in first, and then we're going to go bang in the 1st of July onwards. That's what it looks like, and we hope it's going to be that, right? I do understand, though, why people are getting frustrated about this, because when you're looking at Liverpool and Manchester City, people have, and I've been guilty of saying this, don't look at what everyone else is doing, look at what we're doing. I've said that. The problem is it's very difficult when those signings are extremely exciting. Ryan Cherky coming, I know, is a player you've liked. Ryan Cherky, Reinders. Obviously, we've got Florian Wirtz coming in at Liverpool. They're looking like they're going to go all out for a big summer, as well as Man City now. I'm not too fussed about what the other clubs are doing yet, but if Chelsea and Newcastle were to start moving mad as well, I think a lot of people would start to panic then and look behind us as opposed to looking forward. Because right now, with the business that's been done, I think Arsenal are favourites to come third in the Premier League. And that's not what we want, right? So I will say this. I think that Arsenal need to now show the fans that they're serious. This is the summer we want to see.
Goosebumps, as Arteta said.
Yes, and I want to see goosebumps, and I don't believe Kepa gives me goosebumps, bruv. Yeah, so I need to see more than this, and I think there's a difference between doing wise business and quality business. And I understand that you've got to do both, and I understand that there's some shrewd business. I also understand that there's a level of understanding of what player is coming in to improve our squad or improve our first 11. I get this, but I'm not going to sit there and have a go at people for saying that they're slightly worried or they have concerns. I think they have a right to have concerns, DG, over the last couple of windows. So that's kind of where I'm at, bro.
I don't think you're wrong, man. I think that, I think there's fans, that will sit on the more positive fence where it's like, okay, I know the club's working, which is true, whether we like the signings or not, or whatever, there's that. There's obviously fans that, are just going to slag off the club. But then there's fans like, I think yourself, me, and many people in the chat in that we understand deals take long and whatnot, and we're prepared to be patient. But then also at the same time, you burned us in the summer, you burned us in January, you've talked a good game, and we're not on the ground. We're not, obviously, if me or you had Berta or Arteta's number, any decision maker, and we could WhatsApp them and they're saying, oh, calm down, we're getting this done, we'd be kind of cool. The club needs to show us stuff. We're going to get more in depth in like the Nordgaard and the Kepa and the Zubamendi and all of those things. But I just wanted to ask you, as it stands with this Mascara guy coming in, Nordgaard's coming, Kepa's coming, Zubamendi's coming. As it stands, are we stronger for you?
We're stronger in certain positions. I feel like we're probably stronger in the goalkeeping position, even though Kepa's a bit of a mess signing. That Neto was a disaster. So we've actually got a goalkeeper that's a Premier League goalkeeper that seems like he can actually do a job. I don't think he's a great signing, but I don't think he's a horrific one. We're probably
Exactly.
stronger at the centre half position because finally it looks like if Mosquera comes in, we've actually got somebody that can cover for Saliba.
Can play right back as well.
And he plays there, yeah. So he plays in a number of positions. I don't think we're stronger in midfield. I actually think Partey and Jorginho are stronger than Zubimendi and Norgard. And I'm only saying that by what I've gone by. Partey is an unbelievable central defensive midfielder. Jorginho has given experience, but also some good quality performances individually for Arsenal in terms of consistency and reliability. I think you're losing
good with Rice for a point.
Exactly. I remember when you double pivot with Rice, I think when you look at the scenario of a couple of games last season just gone, we had him in. But the season before that, he got man of the match against Liverpool and City at the Emirates, where we beat them both. So this is a good player. Now, I'm not going to say that Norgard is a bad signing. What I am going to say is it's a downgrade on Partey and Zubimendi, because that was what we all wanted to see, right? So I think we're downgraded in midfield. And so far, we've done nothing in attack. So I wouldn't say that we're particularly stronger at the moment. I'd say that we're probably no stronger. We now need to see these attackers come in, because that's what's going to lift us, DG. And I know we're going to talk about it, but the moment you start to see attackers being linked, whether the names are exciting or what, you're at least thinking, right, okay, well, there's positions we need to add to our attack. That's what's going to excite it. Bringing in a backup goalkeeper and some central defenders or defensive midfielders is fine, and we need to do that alongside it, but they're not going to excite the crowd. You know, you can't. I don't think people understand that is going to do nothing to the fans that have question marks. They're going to go, right,
I'm going to move the needle.
That's the word. So for me, that's what we need to look at now, is what are these players going to do to come in the door and us go, okay, you said goosebumps, I'm with you. That's what I want to be feeling this window. And, you know, when you're saying these words, goosebumps and big summer and war chest and serious,
powder dry,
you've got to now deliver on those words. Because when you say that you're going to have a huge summer and you deliver Calafiori and Marino and Sterling, you make yourself look like a bit of a plonker, right? Now that we've said it's going to be a big summer, I need to see the striker. I need to see the winger. I want to see an exciting, creative midfielder alongside the ones that we're bringing in. There's nothing wrong with the ones we're bringing in terms of the positions, right? I'm not looking at
isolation,
Exactly. I'm not looking at that going, well, they're going to be fifth choice. What we're bringing him in for? And, well, he's never going to get kicked. What we're bringing him in for? We obviously need squad players. You need a squad, right? So I would say that there are definite sort of question marks about the order of priority that we're going in. But as long as the players come in by the end of the window, we'll all be okay. We could be like worried right now like I've been, or concerned like I've been, some are in panic meltdown mode. But actually, when you get to the stage where it shuts and you have the 25-man squad we're looking at, cool, calm.
Be like, fair enough.
Yeah. And that's what we got to get to, bruv. But the actual defender that you mentioned, like coming in, Mosquera, I actually like it. And I'll tell you why. There's a few reasons why I quite like it. And it seems weird me saying this. I've never seen him, right? I don't know much about him. So he could be another Mustafi for all I know.
However, God forbid. God
I know,
forbid.
right? That reminds me of it because
plays for the same team as well. I'm scared.
Exactly,
You're making me nervous now, Dan, man.
Exactly, bro. Right? I'll tell you why I like it. One, I like it because it's a position that I feel like we need. A lot of people will laugh and say, what, another defender? Well, we do need it because Arthur will be leaving, right? He's a side that can cover Saliba, which we've not had for God knows how long. That's the first thing I like. The second thing I like is Andrea Berta has apparently been pivotal to this signing. Now, the reason I like that is for obvious reasons. But when people say, how can you say that? You don't know who he is. I'm actually quite excited to find some diamonds in the rough in the squad, because I think the squad players, you don't want to do a diamond in the rough of the 11. But for a squad player, I'm happy with that, because I didn't know who Diogo Jota was until he come to Wolves. But apparently, Berta knew who he was and he bought him Atletico Madrid. He knew who Rodri was when he was at Villarreal, right? No one else did when he was at Atletico Madrid. He knew who De Paul was. He knew who Vasalco was. All of these players that he's bought.
He got past it Suarez when Barca wanted to get rid of him and they won the league with him, Atletico. So he's shown he can pivot and find stuff.
You're hearing me. So he's finding some shrewd business himself. The Norgard signing, from what we understand, was a Mikel Arteta one. Zubimendi, we know was Mikel Arteta. And if we do get Sesko, it'll be Mikel Arteta. But when I look at these players coming in these positions, maybe a creative midfielder, maybe a defender, maybe a wing back, wherever it be that he wants to bring in, I'm looking at Berta thinking, yeah, that's your signing now. Because He sounds exciting. He's 21 years old. He's obviously an absolute beast. He's got a lot of attributes I like in terms of pace, power, and strength. I don't know how comfortable he is on the ball, but I like his passing range on YouTube. That's all I've seen is YouTube clips. I haven't seen it. I don't watch Valencia, brother. I don't watch La Liga, right? But from what I hear and understand, he's
Cheap
quite
as
highly
well,
rated.
man. A lot of upside in that regards. If it goes left, we can move him on.
So at 17 million pounds as the tops, I think Alberta's trying to get him for cheaper than that. It's nothing wrong with it, is there? Like, you're not going to look at that deal and go, well, that's absolutely horrendous. What are we doing spending 15 minutes? He's actually going to come in and provide cover for Saliba. Apparently, he can play left-sided centre-back as well. I know people have said he can play full-back. I don't think he plays left-back, but I think right-back is something he's mentioned. So I don't think it's a bad signing, this one, if I'm honest. It's not one that excites me, but it's one that I think makes sense. And if Berta's going to come in and do some business like that, I think we've got to give it a chance to blossom before we start poo-pooing the signings. I'd rather go and get him than go and get Johnny Evans. Right. So let's look at it in that way and respect and say, let's give this guy a chance. At 21 today, apparently, he's got a chance to be a very good player. He's happy to come in and fight with Gabriel and Saliba. So that's good, because if you get him Mark Gear, he's expected to start and he ain't going to. So
and that Housen, by the way, went Madrid.
Facts, Housen as well. So now let's just see what this does. It looks like it's happening. Let's see how it plays out, man. What do you think?
And that's where I'm at, Dan, in that. For me, I describe the business we've apparently done so far as like, it's like if I'm going shopping, I'm going Primark. It's like, respectfully to all the guys we've signed, with the exception of Zubamendi, I'm quite bullish around his signing, but with the exception of his and more like the Keppers and these kind of squad players, it's like I've gone to Westfield, I've gone Primark, I've bought some black socks and boxers, essentials. Now I want to go to, I don't know, Gucci or Armani. That's how I look at the striker stuff. So that's where I want to go with that. And like you said, you know, if we're shown we can pivot early, get players that are a bit of diamonds in the rough, I'm with that. One thing that gives me confidence with the Mascara signing, I'm like, he's 20. I'm expecting him to have games where, you know, when you see like a 20-year-old, he might move like a prime Tony Adams one week, and then the next week he looks like a young defender doing some clangers. If there's one thing I'll give Mikel Arteta credit for, it has been improving defenders. Now, fair enough, I rated Timber before he signed for Arsenal, but I think Timber's done all right. I think Ben White's got better under Mikel Arteta. I think, you know, Saliba went out on loan and whatnot, but as he's been coming back in the team, he's done well. And Gabriel Magalhaes is probably the best example. So that gives me a lot of confidence that we can get something out of him. The fact that he can play centre-half, obviously, is something that I'm attracted by. But it's also right back. We had a post-season Timber, well, post-ACL Timber having to play through the mud, and I'm sure you've spoken about the interview he did the other day. Obviously, Benjamin White's had surgery, and there's been to and from in that regards. I wouldn't say we've got false depth defensively, but I do think you do when you break it down. Like, obviously, we know the hamstring injuries were kind of predictable. Zinni's probably gone. Kivio, I don't know what's happening. I'd keep him, but he might want to go. Tierney's obviously left. I love Calafiori and Tomiyasu, more so Tomiyasu, but these men can't stay fit. And when you're, you know, it's all fun and games in August when it's 1 game a week. When it starts getting to 2 games a week, 3 games in 10 days, we've probably played about 20 games in all comps. This is where you need a squad. And I like the fact that Mosquera is wanting a challenge, if I'm honest with you, broski, because I think of the 38 games, just by looking on Google, of the 38 games, I think something like 38 games La Liga that they've played in La Liga, or he's played 37 of those. Now, you're not going to get that at Arsenal, right? Kind of what you said with Gerhi. So that tells me that you're down for the cause, you're down to fight, and he's Spanish as well. So I guess there's some sort of stuff in that regard. So I'm all for that. I kind of want to go back into midfield because I've lightly touched on it. Yeah, let's talk about Partey first. Like, what do you make of Partey departing, and also, do you think he could actually stay? Because apparently he's in Spain at the moment with them lot.
Yeah, I heard today judges told me that he's actually traveled with them and he's having a chat or whatever. But look, I want him to stay. I feel we should be allowing him to stay, but I do think now my gut feeling is that he's probably going. Zubamendi, and of course, Norgard coming in means that there's probably no room now to keep anybody else other than that as a backup. So I think Norgard comes in as the backup. Obviously, he's Premier League proven. I'm not so sure that that's like an upgrade. But for me, Thomas Partey leaving, I think is a big problem. And I think it's a big problem for 2 reasons, actually. I think it's a problem for first team and backup, because I actually think he's still our best number 6 at the club. I think last season he was clearly our best midfielder. And then I look at the backup situation, and I'd rather have Partey and Zubamendi than I would Zubamendi and Norgard.
I'm with that.
Yeah. Now, I understand that people have said, we're saving money. It's unbelievable business. I couldn't give a shit about this accountant crap about saving money. I want the best.
Unless you're going to go and spend mad money up front. That's the only way I care about saving peas.
Fact. So if you said to me this signing is allowing us to go and get Rodrygo, not Garnacho, then cool. Let's go and get it done. But it's not going to, DG. It's saving us like a couple of mil, isn't it? Like, let's be real. We've spent 11 million and 5 on Norgard, whatever it's going to be, plus his wages, instead of giving 50 grand a week to Thomas Partey. Now, for me, I'd rather have Thomas Partey than Norgard. As much as I think he's a Premier League proven player, he's quite good, he's half decent. Yeah, he's not amazing, but he's okay backup. I don't think you're upgrading the squad there. I think you're downgrading the position. So I've still got my doubts. Yeah, and I feel like I've still got my doubts about Zubimendi coming in and being better than Partey. I think he's a good player, by the way, and I think Zubimendi will prove that he's a good player. But
he's untested in the Prem. He's going to need adaptation. You're right.
So if you look at Rodri, he needed time. He was brilliant now, but he needed time. For 2 seasons, people were going, what's this then? Zubimendi, on the other hand, he might, at that age of 26, I know he's a bit older than what Rodri was when he first come to Man City, but he might need a year. So I don't know, man. I think he's a really good number 6, but is he as good as Partey? I'm not sure. Partey's had injuries. Partey's on a lot of money. I think this is this worth it? They've decided no. I personally feel like it would be. And there's a risk that he could get injured again, Partey, but there's a risk that Zubimendi could. Timber did when he first come. So there's always a risk of injury. I think we've got to get Partey and Zubimendi, but it looks we're gone for Zubimendi and Norgard. I don't think that is an upgrade personally.
You said it there. I don't think it's an upgrade per se. I'll give the club credit, quote unquote, because you've quickly addressed some sort of issue. One midfielder's gone. You've brought in another one. I don't think Nordgaard's a needle mover. I don't think it's exciting. But you know what? I feel with Partey and Jorginho going, we are losing a lot of experience. I do think you're Premier League proven. I think the set piece manager is going to love you. You could just plug a gap in the squad, but it's not an upgrade. Like you, I would have preferred to obviously have kept Partey. I don't know for the budget. Clearly, we are not working with the craziest of budgets, but I used to say the club needs to weigh up the costs of, if you're going to go, I don't know who the midfielder would be, but if you're going to replace Partey, like direct quality, excluding Zubimendi, because as you said, and I think you're right, we wanted both of them, right? How much would that cost? If I assume 45, 50 million like Partey, is that cheaper than just keeping Partey for a year or two? Now, of course, it seems like a no-brainer in my mind to keep Partey. He could revert back to type, start getting injured. I do think the one fear I'd have with Partey, with Zubimendi, is that if Zubimendi's going to be the upgrade, I do think, Dan, that Partey is one of those weird players. He's not plug-in and play. He needs to be starting 5-10 games, get his little rhythm, and just keep it moving in that regard. So it depends, and I think it's a peculiar one in that I think the only reason this is dragged on is because Partey's been good this season. I think Partey's always been a good player, but me and you have been doing content a long time. He's always felt like one in the summer where they're not forcing him out, but for one reason or another, they will field offers. They're kind of half trying to get him to go to Saudi or whatever. Do you think Partey's right to ask for more money? Because I must admit, Dan, I'm a bit conflicted. On one hand, I got my fan cap on. If you really love the club and all of that, you have to realize that the club is stuck with you with injuries. Just take whatever wages they're giving you, because I'm pretty sure whatever they've got on offer, you're not going to get that in all the other teams you're linked with unless it's Saudi Arabia. But then on the other hand, I understand it. He's been on the same contract, probably because of injuries, since he signed for the club. And he's probably saying, 1, it's a short career. 2, if Arteta, you rate me this much, give me a new deal. 3, you look at who earns a lot of money at this club and who are real key players, he should be there. But do you think Partey is right to ask for more money, in your opinion?
So there's an argument to be had that he doesn't have a right because he's had 1 fit season in 4. I get that. But I also understand when he's looking around thinking, well, when I stay fit, I'm one of the best players in this team. I'm pivotal. We saw that at PSG, that I'm needed in that midfield. And Havertz is on 290, so I'm going to ask for 250. And that's basically what I believe he's asking for, roughly, from what we're hearing. They've said, no, we're not giving you more. They've probably offered some form of stay the same or a bit of a pay cut. He's felt disrespected and probably felt, well, I've got other offers. I'm going to go and earn more money over there and have one last couple of years somewhere else. So I don't think
he's got Prem offers.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think he's got a right to say, this is for me. I don't think he's got a right, but he's not, it's not like, wow, this is deserved. But I don't think it's undeserved at the same time. I don't think you can sit there and go, what? You're going to be offering Partey that? What? Like, it's a year with an option. Like, let's calm down. It's not like we're giving him a 6-year deal on 250k a week here. Like, the guy's 31 or 32 nearly. You give him a deal with an option, and if he's still playing at his level, cool. If not, then you let him go. It's simple. Like, it's a really simple deal to do. I can't believe it. Now, one thing I agree with you on is how quickly we dealt with the situation. But how can it take 5 hours to buy a central defensive midfielder and 5 years to buy a striker? Like, this is what I don't get with this club. We've needed this for a
Yeah,
long time.
yeah,
And in
yeah.
5 hours, we can go, our party wants to go, right, let's get Norgard in. 5 hours, done deal. And then we go 5 years later, we're still waiting for someone to be a striker that's better than Jesus
We've
Havertz.
got our striker now done, man. No God, Marino, Havertz. It could, you never know. I wouldn't rule it out. Stranger things have happened, bro. And we probably lost the right back option in Thomas Partey for Mikel Arteta. It's
Crazy.
madness, man.
I mean, like, that Norgard, to be fair, is actually going to come in and be very similar to what we've got in Marino in terms of the set pieces, because he's good from set pieces. He's obviously aerially very good. He's physically good. His duels are very good. So he's got some attributes that you like in your midfield. But I do have this kind of anxiety about him, Marino, Havertz, all standing in the box waiting to get their bonds on it. I'm not really interested in that. I want to play this style of football we're all dreaming of watching, which is scintillating to watch. But signings like that aren't going to allow us to do that, bro.
I'm with you, man. Do you, because this is actually, it's actually asked here. That's actually bang on the money. I was going to ask you. Big up Valera, one of the mods. Are you happy with the left 8 options? If Declan is rotated or has an injury next season, we need to get other creative options in that position. That's where Eze comes in. Now we'll get into Eze in a second, but that is something that went through my mind before Nordgaard even became a thing. I thought, do you know what? When it became clear that Partey is going to move, can we go for an 8? Nothing to do with Rice. I'm more than happy to see Rice playing that 8. I'm being converted in that regards. I still think his bread and butter is the 6. I just don't think we've got different profiles. It's like we've got more 6s than an 8. Like you mentioned Rangers earlier. Now clearly we can't get him, but him, for example, someone of that skill set, like I think we're lacking there. And I am a bit concerned about midfield because Zubamendi's going to have to get up to speed. He's going to have to learn how Rice plays and all of that kind of stuff. Like, could it have been an opportunity to pivot towards something completely different than a 6 per se?
So I think the 8 position at Arsenal is actually fairly weak. I still have my doubts over Declan Rice playing in his advanced 8. I think he's a box-to-box midfielder, and I think the 8 might have to be deeper this season, right? Got no problem with that. If that's the case, they want to go there, cool. I don't think there's an advancement with Declan Rice. I don't look at his game and think, right, he's going to be our Frank Lampard. I think Declan Rice could be more of a Gilberto Silva, Patrick Vieira type, where you're kind of like 2 pistons of the engine. I think that's where Declan Rice is. He covers every blade of grass. He's up and down the pitch. He's defending as much as he's attacking. That's what I think he is, right? We saw that against Real Madrid, Manchester United, PSV. I've seen it and thought, yeah, he can do that. When he's standing outside the edge of the box, I like it because he can have a dig, but I'm not too sure that he's the one I want driving forward and taking all of our shots. That's just my opinion. Some people disagree and they think he's a Gerrard or a Lampard. I don't. I see him more as a box-to-box or a holding midfielder, right?
That's fair.
And that's Rice. Marino, I don't like him midfield. I like him up top. I don't think that he is a midfielder.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Isn't it weird? I don't rate the guy in midfield. I think he's a very average midfielder.
I'd rather him in the 8 than the 6. I'll say that much.
Yes, I would. The 6 I'm fine with because we've got Zubamendi, Rice, and Norgard. We don't need any more bloody 6s, right? We've got enough of them. But I would have loved to have seen a Reinders or a Morgan Rogers coming into this 8 position because it gives us athleticism. Now, the other thing we could do, and that some people have suggested, and I actually do think Arteta might go with this, we're being linked with Yoel Harto, and people will scream and go, another left back, another left-sided back. Do you know why I'm okay with it? Because I think it will allow Lewis Skelly to play in the 8 at some times.
Big him up on that new deal as well.
Big him up on the new deal and big him up as a lad. I love him. I think he's still got it in him to play in that position. I love the athleticism. I think his strength is better than I've seen at any 18-year-old ever. I think when you look at what's happening with Harto, I think Harto might actually be able to be a timber at left back and Lewis Skelly go and be into midfield. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen this season. I think it's an option for the future and an option for this season coming up as well. So I think that might be what could be happening because I love Lewis Skelly. I love him at left back, but I do think there's an opportunity to see him more in midfield. I think he's definitely got the athleticism, build, and structure for it. I think
confidence as well.
Fearless, confidence, intent. I love him. So for me, I'm a big fan. And I think that might be an opportunity for us to see. Now, that's only if Harto comes in. If Kivior stays, I don't think Harto comes in. That's the only way I see Harto coming in is when Kivior and Zinchenko both leave. Otherwise, I think we're keeping it, right? So that's where I'm at. I think that Harto coming in and he could be playing that left back, Timber on the right back, because he's very similar attributes to Timber. And then you've got Gabriel and Saliba. That gives Lewis Skelly the chance to go in midfield with Rice and Odegaard or whoever it be. And we see that. That's what could happen in the future. It's just an option. So that could be the fact. But our rate position, I'm not massively keen on it, if I'm honest. I'm just not.
I'm not either, man. If I'm completely honest with you, man, I would like that more of an Arsenal midfielder. Even if I don't get caught up on eights, I think we need a couple more players that are more than happy to drive through central regions, or players that can consistently play those eye of the needle passes, which on paper is looking like a Zubimendi thing a bit more for me. So I do want to see that. I do think it's a deficiency in our squad. I don't think we're going to necessarily move for that now. With the Hatto thing, I agree with you. It pushes Miles Lewis-Skelly into midfield. I just wonder like how much Hatto is going to take out of the budget, because we still hear rumblings that we're still keen on him, but what's that, probably about 50 odd million quid, where we're still talking about wingers and strikers. If I'm Hatto, it's not that I wouldn't want to sign for Arsenal, because we've shown a track record of developing defenders. Obviously, you've got Timber here. We've got a young kind of team. But I just think for a 19-year-old that's captained Ajax on occasion, that's played left back and centre back, that's got a World Cup to think about, you don't necessarily have to leave Ajax today, really and truly. So it might be one to park off. But the interesting thing you said there is Lewis-Skelly in midfield. Do you see him as a 6 or an 8? Because I see him more as a 6. But I think you could do a bit like what you said with the Declan Rice, a bit more like, if we don't get hung up on that, you can do the box-to-box thing. You got the confidence. You're more than happy to drive forward. We saw it against Madrid and Everton and many a game. I do think it's an option. I don't know if Arteta sees him in midfield, but yeah, man. Do you see him as an 8 option or?
Yeah, I do. I see him as a box-to-box midfielder that's got the athleticism and the drive and the engine. I do think that he's done an unbelievable job at left back, and I would not mind if he stayed there. Let me make that clear. But he does get caught out a couple of times, Lewis-Skelly. I'm not saying he can't recover, but he does get caught out a couple of times. In fact, he's actually got him sent off a couple of times with last man, and with a couple of times he's been turned or spun and he's got the tackle wrong. But I do rate him. I do like him. I think he's an exceptional talent. And at 18, doing what he's doing is phenomenal. He's got the world at his feet right now. He's staying humble, excuse the pun. And he's very much getting into everyone's talking points on podcast. And what I like about it, no one's talking about him in bad light, which means one thing. He's a good player. Just like Saka. Yeah. People respect Saka. They don't ever slag him off. Some of the Chelsea fans do. Oh, he's limping again. Or, oh my God, he's not as good as
But they know in their heart he's quality, man. Like, and when England play, you're hoping he does his stuff.
Well, listen, he's played for England already and he scored on his debut. Thomas Tuchel likes him at left back. I think he'll remain left back ahead of Lewis Hall, if I'm honest. And I feel like there's a real opportunity for Lewis-Skelly to have a very good season. Look, everything's happened so quickly for him in 6 months. He basically got into the Arsenal team, got an England call-up, scored in his debut, started playing against Real Madrid and PSG. I don't think he expected any of that this season. I think he expected a few Carabao Cup games. So to get all of that is incredible. And look, people are saying, what does that mean for Ethan? Why is he not? Look, Ethan's not had the opportunities that Miles Lewis-Skelly has had. Lewis-Skelly found himself in a left-back role that he was covering for and ended up being brilliant there.
And ran with it and doing well.
Yeah. Ethan could have had that experience of when Ødegaard got injured, but he picked Trossard instead. For whatever reason, Ethan's not had the opportunity yet. He has at right wing, and I hope that he gets more opportunities this season. I think him and Dauman will definitely play more than people expect in terms of cup games and a few minutes here and there. But I do believe that they'll get the chance. And these three that are coming through, I think all three of them are going to make it. I really think all three of them are going to make it. I have so much confidence in that.
Something's wrong if they haven't.
Well, I mean, Lewis-Skelly pretty much has already. Ethan's going to make it. He's top level quality.
He was flirting with an England call-up, Ethan, at one point in the season.
Yeah, because of how the consistency he was delivering at. And I know he got a knock and it hasn't quite been the same since. And then you've got Max Dauman, who we're hearing unbelievable things about. At 15, I ain't seen many kids as good as him at 15.
It's hard not to get excited about a 15, 16-year-old. And I urge people to keep their feet on the ground, but he's one. I share what Dan said. Like, we got 3 gems and hopefully a bit more.
I agree. And I think Max Dauman will actually play a lot more than you think. And whether that's a few minutes more than you're expecting, or you're expecting, say 15 games and he plays near to that, or if you're expecting 7 games and he plays 9, whatever that means, I think we will see him, because I'm hearing from people who work around kind of the youth side of the game that he's got a lot of offers from other clubs and he wants Arsenal, but he only wants Arsenal if Arsenal want him. And the way to show that we want him is to integrate him into this first team.
And he'll be off in pre-season with us.
Exactly. He's actually, this is a weird thing to say. I'm actually looking forward to seeing him play pre-season as much as I am some of the others. Because I hear such good things about him. I want to know what he can do at the men's game, because it's fine doing it at under 18s and under 17s and what this.
He needs to be outside his comfort zone.
When you look at him play, I'm thinking, why are you so much better than everyone else? What's he going to look like with the men? Is he going to look like that? Because I'm seeing people in the youth system say that he's as good as Martin Ødegaard is now. at 15. Now that is Lamine Yamal status, Lionel Messi status. That is what we're looking at here. So I don't think he's going to get anywhere near that level.
It's a
However,
big
I do
ask.
think,
And if you get
yeah.
close but nowhere near it, you done all right.
Well, do you know what? If he's half as good as them, I'll take it. He's still going to make it in the game, right? So let's see how good he is, man. We'll find out.
And that's the thing. I think like you said it there when you're alluding to it. Like obviously, technically, he's got it. And I think he's got the temperament. Anyone that watched the under-17s Euros, the only problems with Max Dowman are things you'd expect of a 15, 16-year-old. Physically, he needs to develop consistency, knowing when to pass. But he's got the swagger. He's got the technical ability. I don't know how you would articulate it, but he puts the team on his shoulders. He relishes that kind of stuff, and he's an Arsenal player, in it. Like you could see his future is probably as a 10, maybe as an 8, but he's one that could do the Wenger thing and just float around and whatnot. Hopefully we can convert him a bit like with Ranieri. I think Ranieri's only missing things that you'd expect a 17, 18-year-old to miss. He's still growing into his man's body. I think with Ranieri physically, that's something that I don't want to just reduce Lewis Skelly to being physically, but you wouldn't know he's an 18-year-old man. I don't want to use a guy that used to play for Spurs as an example, but he reminds me of Moussa Dembele when he's driving. Like he's got that strength. Even when we lost to Crystal Palace, completely barged Mateta off the ball. Even me, I know he's strong. I was thinking, rah, like that guy's like 7 foot. So I think Ranieri's struggling in that regard. To go back briefly to this question, and that's why I don't think we're getting an 8, because I think Marino and Kai Havertz, where I like it or not, those kind of manner options. And I do somewhat think Arsenal are keeping the pathway clear to a Ranieri, to a Dalman, who can play all about the place, but as they assert themselves in the game, they might rock up centrally. What do you make of the future for Ranieri? Because as you said there, he didn't really get much game time ahead of Odegaard, and he's kind of, pardon my language, Dan, like fucked in the sense that we need you for the squad, but you're probably seen as a deputy for Saka. You're not going to get too much minutes there. Odegaard's another one that's going to play. The 8 role, there's probably some other things Arteta will do before that. I think you could have got game time off the left last season. That probably looks a bit more difficult this year if we bring in a left winger. So what do you make of Ranieri? Because some people are even saying, you know what, he might as well go out on loan. I'm not at that stage yet.
Confused is the word.
Fair.
He was showing glimpses season before last where I thought he was going to be on the brink of getting game time, and then when Odegaard got injured, I thought, brilliant, we're going to see him. When we didn't see him, when we see Trossard, who was actually stinking out the gaff in that position, I was really surprised that he didn't put him in. Then he started the Carabao Cup games and against Bolton and Preston, and people might go, "What? That's terrible competition." He absolutely smashed it against both of those clubs. Now, people will say, "Well, that's easy to do it against them." Well, why is no one else doing it against them then? Because he was the only one who was turning up and absolutely shining light compared to Saka's and Rice's and all these guys that were on the pitch at the same time, Sterling's, Jesus's, etc. So then I thought, yeah, he's made a mistake. And I think Arteta even come out in the actual press conference and said, yeah, I made a mistake there. I should have actually looked at him and believed that he was ready more. And then we started to see him, and he lifted the game against Leicester. I remember Southampton. He came on and scored goals against Manchester City. Brighton, he started. I know he got injured.
Oh, the Brighton game. That's when he was coming into his own, man.
Yeah, and I thought, this is ready. He's done. He's all good. He's going to be a special talent. I'm a big fan of Ethan. I absolutely love him. He's one of my favourite players, believe it or not, already.
100.
Yeah. And it was exciting. And then the back end of the season, I didn't really see him used as much. And I thought maybe because Saka's come back into the mix now.
There's rumours he had an injury, but I don't know how far that is.
Yeah, maybe he's carrying a knock.
He's still on the bench.
I didn't see as much as him as I'd liked. And I don't know if a lot of people are saying he's got a knock. A lot of people are saying he was actually not that fit. Some people are saying that he needs to work harder off the ball because Arteta still isn't a fan. That's going to come because Ethan's young, right? So he's going to have some doubts and some attributes that he needs to work on. And he'll be the first to admit that, I'm sure, because he's a young kid, right? And at 17, 18, you're not going to have everything. But I do think this kid is special. And I think he's going to be an unbelievable talent. So I don't know if he's a right winger or a 10. I'm believing he's more of a central midfielder, attacking midfielder. However, I think he can play right wing. And I think he's proven he can play right wing. I love the fact he cuts in and has a goal on his left. I think it's exceptional. Every time he does it, I'm like off my seat.
That Saka thing, in it just feels a bit inevitable, and he's actually on shooting.
You just know, and it's predictable, but he gets away with it. They can't get it to him. So I must say, I'm a huge fan of him, and I think he has a future. I wouldn't put him on loan. I'd keep him in the first team squad, and because I think he's good. Like, put it this way: we've been linked with Noni Madueke. Please do not go and get Noni Madueke because
for 50 million, you know.
Ethan Nwaneri is better. Yeah. Keep him on the right hand side. This Noni Madueke guy, I don't want him. Like, I do not want him.
I'm not on
million. My God. No,
but that's the thing, Dan. It stinks of something we do, you know. It's
If we
scary.
do that, we haven't learned. If we do that, we have not learned at all. Because if we're spending 50 million to back up Saka and he can only play right wing and he can't even do that very well, I'm worried. Yeah, Ethan Nwaneri, I think, scored as many goals as Madueke this season. So let's
And it
bring
didn't
in
cost a
let's
thing.
bring in Ethan, man. I don't want Noni Madueke. Big up to Troops, by the way, legend.
Come on, big up troops, man. I think you know what it is with Wanyeri. I'm a bit weird in that. I just think as a young player, just get in where you can in it. Like Saka was doing up left back. Look at him now. You just want to get minutes, and I think Wanyeri's like that. I'm keen to see how his future ends up. I like the fact that he's like a cold-hearted killer in the opposition's box. Arteta said he could be a striker. I'm not quite with that. I'm with you in that. I think he's a 10 or a left-sided 8. I think he said that. I must admit, when he got his little run in the team, I thought, oh, you know what? You might be able to cut a career as a right winger. And obviously that presents an issue at some point with Bukayo Saka. You said something along the lines of, off the ball. I personally think beyond the little things a young player is missing, that's what he needs to spend the summer doing. Whatever Mikel Arteta demands of Odegaard, across 90 minutes, stand here, do this, do that, lead the press. Just spend the summer learning all of that, because on the ball you can do it. If you can get closer to that, I think it's great. I wanted to ask you as well, why do you think Arteta does the senior thing? Because if Kai Havertz was fit, for example, I genuinely think Odegaard's pulled out and he's going back in there. And then obviously I can't tell you if Lewis Skelly would have got an opportunity had there have not been injuries. Why do you think he appears a bit reluctant?
Yeah, that's one thing he's got to improve on, whether you're a fan of the manager or not, bruv, right? He's got to trust his 25-man squad, 20-man squad, 19-man squad, whatever the hell it's going to be.
He has to be bigger than that, man.
Because I've not seen enough of it, bro. I look at the scenario over the last couple of years, right? Let's take this season just gone. Didn't trust Sterling. Well, he was your guy. Last season, didn't trust Fabio Vieira. Well, he was your guy. Didn't trust Reece Nelson, but he was your guy. Didn't really trust Smith Rowe towards the end of it. The only player he actually trusted was Eddie Nketiah. So he needs to trust the squad that he's buying. You can't bring in and play 15 guys. You can't have 15 players. And the excuse can't be, well, I didn't think they were good enough. Well, what did you buy him for then? Not trusting Zinchenko into midfield. There's a lot of stuff that I look at and I think, starting to see Zinchenko in midfield.
Even Kivior, the first year we fought for the title.
Kivior, yeah. So
and we was doing up Rob Holding.
I've got to be honest. I felt like Ethan could have easily played a few hundred more minutes this season just gone. Because when Odegaard was out, I didn't particularly love it. But you have to look at your squad and go, right, well, I didn't think you'd get your chance this soon, Ethan, but here you go. Take it ball by the horn.
Yeah.
And I think he would have. I think he would have proven that he could have played. Yeah, he would have had some quieter games. I think he had some quieter games this season. But the majority of the games I saw him, he was lighting it up.
And you can see light at the end of the tunnel as well, because he's just going to get better. Good and bad moments.
Exactly. He's coming on against City and scoring. He's starting games and scoring. He's scoring in Premier League games against Brighton. He's scoring in cup games against Bolton and Preston. There ain't not much more he could have done this season just gone.
That goal against Girona in the champs sums him up.
Goal against Girona. So, and then you look at the goal against Ipswich. You know what I mean? He's had some very good moments for him, man. And then you look at the scenario of him coming off the bench from PSG, and I'm thinking, where is he? And he's not getting a game. And I'm thinking, why are you bringing on Calafiori and Ben White when we need to score goals? And you've got Ethan sitting there. It's a risk, and I'm not saying he would have put us through to the next round.
We didn't have any other options.
I'd like to have seen what he did, what he could have done. And I don't care if you're bringing off Odegaard or Saka. Bring him on, man. I really need to see more from Ethan this season. I want to see more minutes for him. And I know it's hard to say I want to see him and Dalman because they both play in similar positions, but I wouldn't mind lining up in a Carabao Cup game with Dalman and Ethan Nwaneri in the side. Let's see what it's about. Let's see what they can do.
How much? Because we've been focused on recruit. We've touched on tactics and Arteta with the young players and whatnot. Yeah, but how much signing is one thing. There's no way around it. For Arsenal to get better, we need to address all areas. Obviously, we're getting some stopgap signings and looking after the depth. I think every Arsenal fan wants to see a striker, wants to see a left winger, right? So recruitment is central to us getting to the next level. But how much of it is down to Arteta and his coaching stuff and the things we don't necessarily see, like finding new tactics, evolving? Because maybe I'm naive, bro, but I genuinely feel you could get your Gyökeres, best case scenario, you get your Gyökeres, you got Rodrygo, you got Saka. They will score goals, we'll do stuff and whatnot. But that doesn't answer how we break down low blocks. That doesn't answer, being more of a threat beyond set pieces. I think there's a lot that we need to do tactically, but people look at me like I'm crazy. I could be do you think there's anything he needs to change in that regard?
You're not crazy. You're bang on with everything you've just said.
You'd be surprised on YouTube, bro.
How do we turn draws into wins? Find out a way to break down low blocks, because that's why we're drawing. because we're drawing against Fulham and we're drawing against Everton and we're making silly like fixtures that we go into believing we're going to get 3 points and we're struggling with it, Nottingham Forest away, like all these guys, we're going into the games thinking, right, this is a tough place, we might struggle here, but let's take the 3 points because we're better than them. Let's find a way. Let's not go into this game believing that this is going to be a kind of, well, it's probably going to be a draw because they're going to low block us. We ain't got much answer for that. Find a way. Get creative. Stop trying to work out set pieces it is because they're going to low block us. Nah. Like, set pieces are important. I think people get confused by this. Set pieces are a massive part of the game.
And we don't want that to change. We've got to do other things as well.
Free kicks, all good, right? But tell me how else we score goals. So I've got to see more than it just being corners and set piece FC. And I feel like we relied upon that a bit too much last season. I've got nothing wrong with that being in part of your armory, part of your locker room. I don't.
And if Saka's being doubled up against, we need some other people to take advantage of that.
And you know what? This is what I do not understand. When Saka is being doubled and sometimes triple tag teamed against, where is the space and how do we find it? Because there's 3 players over this side. So let's get the ball to Odegaard and spray it towards Martinelli. Stop going to the bloody, like, oh, it's only Saka I can play with. Like, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at.
And that's where I'm with you, Dan, in that obviously in a dream world, if you've got your bad boy striker, if you've got someone that's even 50% of the player of Saka on the left-hand side, there's only 11 players on the pit. Well, we get people sent off quite a lot of the time. But if there's 3-man marking Saka, you can't now have 3-man marking the next one on the left-hand side. And even if that's the case, there's other players that can go under the radar. Again, I ain't no coach, but tactically, I feel it's... If there's one criticism I've got of Arteta, I feel once we approach the opposition's box or their half, better yet, I don't feel we do enough in central regions. I know you've got, Zubimendi now and Partey in the 6, you got Rice in the 8. We briefly touched on what Odegaard does, but I don't feel we're that much of a threat from central areas, and I think that needs to obviously improve as well. If I'm completely honest with you, and we're getting to the next level, I need Arteta. The reality is, I can have my criticism about the guy. The man's not going anywhere. So just change things in it essentially and just have different pivots and whatnot. Completely off topic, yeah, but it's been a long time since we've done a stream. Did you see the fixtures? And what did you make of them? We got a tough start.
Unbelievably tough start.
First 6-10 games dark, man.
Unbelievably tough start. And that should wake the board and ownership up even more now because we need to be ready. We can't be struggling to get our striker and winger still by the 6th or 7th game. Like, we need to be, that window needs to shut and we need to be like, we're not rushing around. We've done our business. We're 6 games in or whatever it is by that point, 5 games in. I need to see by the start of August what's going to be lined up against Manchester United. Now, it's the toughest start you can have. I know a lot of people laugh at United and they are dusty as hell at the moment, but they ain't an easy place to go to Old Trafford. It never has been.
As well.
Yeah, for us, the history, the rivalry, it's never easy. We drew there last year. We only just about beat them 1-0 the season before. And before that, it was a long time that we actually comfortably won there. So I've got to be honest, I am a little bit nervy. Leeds, got to beat them. Be tough, but they're going to come.
That's the games we fuck up in, It wouldn't surprise me if we do all right against the top 6
probably.
And we do nonsense
probably
there.
Draw to them and win the others. Yeah, that's the way we play, right? But we can't do that. We got to beat them. We got to beat Forest. Yeah. Got to beat Manchester City. And then, obviously, we've got Anfield, St. James Park, and Old Trafford in the first 6. Now, it's horrendous, but do you know what's good? Once they're done, they're done.
Exactly. You'd rather at the start than the end.
I actually think, I don't know what you think about this, right? I don't mind the fixtures after the first 6. Like, I think some people are looking at it going, oh, we've got so-and-so then, and we've got so...
It's a conspiracy, man.
Like, we have to play these teams all twice.
Everyone plays each other twice,
Everyone plays each other twice. So when people say, have you seen we got Tottenham and Chelsea next to each other? We are going to. Like, mathematically, we're going to have a Newcastle and Chelsea or a Aston Villa and Spurs or a Manchester United and Liverpool next to each other because there's 20 teams that are all very good in this league now. Yeah?
And everyone waffles about our top 6 record. So these games shouldn't be an issue. It's the Leeds and these kind of ones where we fucked up. Essentially,
so if we're unbeaten against the top 6 in the last year, whatever the hell it is, then great, no problem. What we moaning about then? So for me, I personally believe that we had a hard start the season just gone. If you remember, we had Wolves and Brighton to start, but actually after that we had Villa, City, and Spurs all away. Yeah, and then we went across that with the Champions League games. We had Atlanta and Inter Milan, and I think we had Inter Milan, Newcastle, Chelsea at one stage as well. So when you look at this now, you're going to get that. We are going to get it. It's going to be difficult. I think we've been fairly lucky with how the Champions League draws fit into it from what I can work out. I don't think it's anything horrific. Of course, unless you might get Real Madrid and Man City. And
You know we're playing Real Madrid again, man. It's
right?
on
It
the
might
stars.
happen. Yeah? It might happen. But for me, I personally believe that after this 6, I think they plateau out a bit. And I think the fixtures are just going to be as we expect. I do think it's a tough start, though. It's a horrific start, in fact. Like, if you was to have those exact same fixtures, but you have Manchester United at home, Newcastle at home, and Liverpool at home first, and you go away to City, Leeds, and Forest, I think that's still difficult, but that even makes it a bit easier. It has literally been incredibly hard. I think the 3 hardest grounds to go to are Newcastle, Liverpool, and Manchester United. And I'll throw Manchester City into there. We've got to go to 3 of those 4 in the first 6. So come on, man. It's tough. It's tough.
I'm with you with that, and with me as well. Like I know people harp on a lot about preseason, and you can't overrate preseason. You get players in early, you do tactics and all that jazz, right? But realistically, you don't just go off for a couple of these clubs don't just go off for a couple of weeks. Everyone's fit, everyone understands the tactics, everyone's fit and firing to go. It takes about 10 plus. But when you get to the 10-game mark in the Premier League, that's when everybody starts to filter out, and you start to see what everyone's kind of on. So I think it's a level playing field. When I look beyond how good City or the threat City and Liverpool and these guys are, everybody's still getting into the groove of things. So, and kind of what you said earlier, like with the fixture, you said it like briefly, it tells the club we need to get a move on, we need to move fast, or we need to move sharp. Now, I don't know how they feel internally. God bless you, my guy. I don't know how they feel internally, but externally, there's a lot of pressure. I actually feel sorry for, even if you go and get Gyökeres and Rodrygo and all the new signings, because you're not going to have time to settle. Fans are impatient. We want to deliver now. And there's obviously pressure on Mikel Arteta. Well, I hope there is. So we're going to need to deliver in it. Like, I'm not really stressed about it. And I do think where you look at it, it can't breed complacency. Like, admittedly, I can't remember all the games to hand here, but there's not really a run on paper where you're like, yeah, that's 12 points. It's like you've got a couple teams you should be beating. You've got a couple difficult top 6 games, and you just need to keep it moving in that regard. So it'll be difficult, man. But this is the table we want to stand on. And I think fans like to have it both ways. You can't waffle about how good the manager is, how good these players are, top 6 record, all them positive statistics, and then start getting scared. I'm not here to say Arsenal are the big bad bullies, but we're definitely, in the last 3 years, the second best team in the country. We're quite a decent outfit in Europe. We're not getting over the line, but we're not little man anymore. Like, it's difficult to play against us. So harp on that, pray into that, and let's keep it moving, if I'm honest. But transfers, man. It's the transfers. We need a striker. I wanted to ask you this as well, yeah, because obviously it seems like we've addressed some areas. It seems like we will probably get Sesko before pre-season starts. Do you think the left wing position is one that will drag on into the season, especially if it's a Rodrygo?
Yeah, man, I do. A couple of things before that. I still want in those first 6 fixtures 14 to 16 points, by the way.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Like that's a minimum for me. I'm not having anything below 14 points in the first 6 games. That ain't, well, we're going for a title, aren't we? So that's what we got. I'm not having this. Them 6 are hard. Just get a couple of wins and then let's just no.
Every cup final now, mate.
Yeah, every game you go into, we've got to be getting at least a bare minimum of 3 points, unless you come up against the Liverpool and the City, which I'd say, yeah, fair play. Drop some points there. You're not going to cry about it because they're quality sides, right? The others got to be winning. Igal's in the chat, bigging up the window already, bless him. Arsenal finally cooking.
Big up Igal, man. His tweets were killing me, man. He's saying Arsenal are cooking and that. And then Aaron said it's salmonella.
Arsenal are cooking. We just needed to wait. Like, we haven't signed anyone, bro. There's still no striker or winger coming through. No one's excited apart from you, Igal. Let's just calm. Anyway, big up to Aaron as well every time. Look, I've got to say, to answer your question,
Igal's a legend, man.
Look here, man. Arsenal finally cooking, guys. We just needed to wait. To answer your question, I think we are going to be waiting for the left winger one for a while. We're going to be asking for a left winger for a while. And the reason is, I think we know it's going to be one of Sesko or Gyökeres. I think it probably is going to end up being Sesko. I want Gyökeres, but I think it's probably going to end up being Sesko, right? No one's going to be massively happy with that.
He started following us on social media and he unfollowed City, apparently. I know a girl would love that. Love for the super chat, Frank, by the way, man.
This is just embarrassing, isn't it? He's following us. He's coming. It's mad. Apparently, Gyökeres was following London. Is he coming? Like, it's just mad. It's just mental. But look, I want Gyökeres. It's probably going to be Sesko because Arteta is obsessed with Sesko and Arteta gets what he wants, and that's why he needs to be sacked if it doesn't work. I will say this though, with the Rodrygo situation, I think the reason it drags out is because that's the one we want, and I think that's going to drag out for a long time. And I will say this: if we've got Kepa, Harto, Mosquera, you know, Norgard, Zubamendi, let's say Eze and Gyökeres, I don't mind the Rodrygo deal dragging out because we've got Martinelli and Trossard, right? So I want him in ASAP. But if it's going to take until maybe the first game of the season for him to announce it, I'm still cool to play a first couple of games without Rodrygo if we absolutely have to. If it means he's coming, I'm all right with that. I mean, it's not my preference. I want him in ASAP. I want them all in ASAP.
But
But I
one
just
that
feel
is,
like this
there's
is the
many
one that
layers to
could
that
drag,
move.
bruv. Yeah, this one could drag, bruv, I think. So that's what I'm expecting, is the Rodrygo one to go on a little bit. And I think it's just purely because I don't know that he's sure what he wants yet. And I think there's other teams in for him. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he said he was staying at Real Madrid. But on the other hand, it wouldn't surprise me if he said, yeah, I'm leaving, but I'm going to Bayern Munich. Or I'm looking at Liverpool, City and Arsenal and deciding which is the best place
All
for
of
me.
Europe's elite will be interested in someone like him.
Exactly.
Like, which is kind of mad. I want to ask you then, at what point, yeah, by all means, go for Rodrygo, like go after him, be aggressive with it. But I'm like you in that I think, you know, the signings were in the process of doing calm. I think a striker is going to be in before preseason, whether it's Gyökeres or Sesko, which I hope is the case. I think the left wing, especially if it's Rodrygo, that's one that's probably going to drag until deadline day, if I'm completely honest. But we do have Trossard and Martinelli. We can get through certain games. My question is, at what point do we say, cool, you know what, we tried for Rodrygo? I know anything excluding Rodrygo will probably be somewhat of a letdown, but we move to another target because at some point we're going to have to, innit? It feels like we're too reliant on Rodrygo making it clear, I want to leave Real Madrid, or Real Madrid making it clear, I want to sell you, or Xabi Alonso saying, brother, you're not getting the football you think you're going to get. So at what point do we have to say, forget this? Because I'm not on this Nico Williams and Rafinha pursuit anymore. Like, get the guys who want to sign for us.
Yeah, the minute that Rodrygo's and I think we should go and get Eze and Kudus. That's what I think we should be doing. Instead of Eze and Rodrygo, let's get Eze and Kudus, because Eze and Kudus can cover the right and the left and the central attacking midfield. And let's go and do that. I don't think it's a huge downgrade. Or we go and get Morgan Rogers and Eze. Like, we've got to go and get Eze and somebody. It can't just be Eze that can cover it all for me, because as much as I think that we could have a scenario where they're all fit and Eze is actually playing some bits and pieces, we actually need cover for both. And we need to get both. I don't know that we're going to, and I don't actually believe we will. I think if we get Eze, that will be it. It will be instead of Rodrygo. But yeah, I think we need him as well as and alongside. And people have talked about Kudus and Rogers. Like, I would take them 100%. I would actually go with Rogers and Eze. That would be my absolute dream. That'd be quality. If we can't get Rodrygo, that is. But Kudus and Eze would still be good as well. But we need to get both of them. And a lot of people are saying it's too much. Well, if you've got to go and spend 130 million on two of them, plus your striker, that's 200 million.
And go sell some players then.
That's what we've got, man. This is what City and Liverpool have done. People telling us this is not Football Manager and this is not FIFA. It makes me sick. Liverpool and City aren't being told they're playing FIFA. But the minute we try and do it, you're playing FIFA, mate.
Man, we never do it. We never do it. This might be the first summer we address all areas, whether I like the players or not. But you needed a goalie when I got that. You needed a defender when I got that. You've done what you needed to do in midfield. I hope you get a left winger and a striker. That's the bread and butter. And that's where I'm kind of like, I would not mind Eze and Gyökeres, for example, but it's not my thoughts, but you know how our club operate. We're not going to sign two 27-year-olds for the money that's required there. I wanted to ask you, yeah, on the Eze thing, what's this? Okay, that's all with Sesko. On the Eze thing, is he a better option than Rodrygo for us?
I don't think he is, because I think Rodrygo is that elite marquee signing. Eze's a very good player and he's more versatile. Actually, he's probably as versatile because he can play in the attacking midfield and left, and Rodrygo can play on both wings. Marquee signing is Rodrygo, bruv.
Shirt seller.
That is a marquee signing. Shirt seller, Ozil and Sanchez type. I think he's brilliant. 24 years old, won everything in the game, won everything at Madrid, Brazilian international, wants to play left wing. I love Eze, but I think Rodrygo is the one that makes people go, wow. I think if we signed Eze, Liverpool and City would probably think, oh, that's a good signing. If we signed Rodrygo, they'd be like, oh, God. I always remember speaking to LB when we signed Declan Rice, and he was like, oh, no, Arsenal have woken up. They're serious. And he didn't say that in the last couple of windows, funnily enough. And he said, like, if we went and got Zubamendi and Rodrygo and Gyökeres, he'd be like, right, Arsenal are serious. They're in for a title race. If we go and get Sesko, we go and get, even if we went and got Sesko and Eze, I don't think that's enough to make people think, right, Arsenal are ready. I don't. I'm sorry.
It's two good players, but it's not.
Yeah, that's all they are. They're not needle movers for me. I think they're
it's
good
a
players.
Weird one.
Let's be honest. If we sign Eze and Sesko, do they even start? Because
Sesko has to start. Like that's done. I hear you, But if it's Sesko or Gyökeres, for me, the striker has to start. I understand bet gelling in and whatnot, and I understand this whole rhetoric around Kai Havertz is starting the season. I'm not on that. The striker has to start. The striker has to start. Like, that is how we get better. I'm with you with Eze, because Eze can play all about the place. Is he going to consistently play left wing for us? Obviously, he can play in the 8. Is he going to play in the 8? We all know Odegaard's playing, so he's not in the 10. I would prefer Rodrygo, but for me, if I remove my emotion, and like you said, it's a start, it's a shirt seller, it kind of gasses the fans. I think we should probably just pour our attention to Eze, because I just feel with Rodrygo, there's too many layered parts. I don't think he truly in his heart wants to leave Real Madrid. I think Eze's got a release clause. There's rumors that, you know, they're open to it in installments. He's obviously was a Haaland boy. He's Premier League proven. I think Rodrygo's the better player, but I just feel this is the angle to go to, because we chased Rafinha, where he was a more ongoing Chelsea and Barcelona than us. Nico Williams, we've been through that. We heard he wants high wages. The minute Barca's there, he's cutting his wages. I don't want to. You have to like the women that like you. He wants to sign for us. Let's just go with this. It feels like this is more feasible. By all means, try for Rodrygo. I'd love both of them, but I don't know, man. I just feel it's more tangible with the Eze thing, man.
Yeah, look, Eze, I think, is more realistic. But at the same time, I would 100% prefer Rodrygo. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Let's just say how it is. We need both. Let's just say how it is. We need both. Rodrygo starts on the left. Eze comes in when Odegaard and Saka need a rest. Or he plays on the left when Rodrygo is left. For me, that is what you need to do. Do we get both of them? I don't believe. I think it's going to be one or the other. I'm looking at it as both, but I don't think Arsenal are. I think they're looking at Eze as a backup option if Rodrygo don't come. And I think he's more realistic than Rodrygo. So that's how I think it will end, if I'm honest.
I wish I could disagree, man. Hopefully the club can prove us wrong. My last question for you then, before I let you get out of here. What can we do in the transfer market to bridge the gap to Man City and Liverpool in terms of squad depth? Because according to me, we're finishing third next season.
Well, we're the favourites to finish third if you speak to people. I think everyone expects Man City to be back with Rodri and the signings they've made, and Liverpool don't look like going anywhere with Florian Wirtz and co that have come into play. So I think when you look at what Arsenal have got to do, is they've got to try and spend money, believe it or not, and play FIFA and Football Manager, which is all apparently we do. They've got to go and spend between 250 and 300 million to catch up with them. And that means that they've got to get the players we linked within, and we've got to bring in Eze, Rodrygo, and Gyökeres. Them 3 signings would get us catching up. Rodrygo, Eze, Gyökeres, get it done. They're not unrealistic targets. They're not impossible. They're not unaffordable. You've got 70 million Gyökeres, 70 million Rodrygo, and then 670 million for Eze, yeah? On average, it works out around that. Go and get it done, man.
Plus, we still need to sell people as well, which could help us.
We've got to sell the people that we got to sell, and then obviously bring in the players that we've been linked with, the Zubamendis, Norgards, and obviously Mascaras and Harto and Kepa. Bring them in as well. All good. 7-8 players. Arsenal already. They've got a squad that can go on all 4 fronts. Done. But that is the dream, Deluded. I'm not sure that is what's going to happen.
You know what I say, man. The dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. Let's just hope we can prove us wrong, man. In Berto, we trust. What content you got to come out today, my guy?
Love, man. Dropped something this morning. Was on with Lee earlier as well. And I'm back at 6 with the... this is London crew, 6 o'clock. We've got me, Lawless, Deji, and Don talking all things transfers. That'll be banter and debate, as it always is. So, yeah, man, come and show me some love. Football's 12th, man. And big up to you, man.
Nah, man, Dan, it's always a pleasure to speak football with you, man. We'll be back on Dan's channel next week, same time on Friday, people. We alternate the platforms, and I'm sure, hopefully, there'll be something else to speak about. If you're too lazy to type in Football 12th, man, or even Dan Potts on YouTube, which is crazy, just check out the title, click his link, and then Bob's your uncle. Big up the chat. Dan, let you enjoy your Friday. Bless up, my guy. And on that note, we're out. Safe.
Like